beautiful, talented Ghanaian actress, Nanama McBrown. Great music is brought to you by Chicago's finest, DJ Andreas, DJ Kishi, DJ Odikro, and the Nyansapor International Band. And of course, good food by PK's Catering and decorations by Sankofa. Tickets are going for $90 for single, $150 for couple, a table of 8, $600 with complimentary drinks, a table of 10, $750 with complimentary drinks. A portion of the proceeds will go towards WGHC's social and health development projects. Recognition will be given to
Good evening. Good evening, world. Good evening, Chicago. Good evening, worldwide. Good evening, Africa. I know right about now you should be hearing Cosby Michaels, but WGHC 98.3 FM, this is how we do it. When we have an influential figure in the city of Chicago, as a voice, as a communication outlet for the community, we try our best to have this influential figure and dignitary to come on our platform and, of course, have a conversation with his or her peoples. And, of course, we in the diaspora here, WJC has come for all of us. And this evening, by the courtesy of my good friend Nick, who is also a journalist, by the way, you guys don't know that, has brought to our ways Franklin Cudjoe. And this man, I have the distinguished honor to have an influential figure as Sir Franklin Cudjoe to be here in the studios with me. So this is, I would say, a privileged interview, and to have him here in our studios. And so Cosby Michaels has given us a good amount of maybe 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to have a little discussion with Sir Cudjoe, why he's here in Chicago, and of course what he's doing with Imani. And Imani is a Center for Policy and Education, of Education, sorry, and it's an African think tank that basically applies free market solution to integrate domestic social problems, I believe. And it was funded by this beautiful and handsome young man here in the year of 2004. And he's here with us to have a little discussion and conversation on why he's here in Chicago. And of course, again, like I stated earlier, when we have the honor to, this week we've been blessed, man. We've had all the politicians come through here. We had Sam George from the NDC come. We've had Honorable Frida Prempe was here about 2 days ago, and now we have you. So, Sir Cudjoe, good evening to you.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks to Nick for arranging this, and thanks to your management for allowing this insight. I'm grateful.
Yeah, we are also grateful. It's an honor, it's a privilege. And when Nick called, he said, "No, you guys, you have to bring this guy over." So, okay, you know what? Yes, indeed. We've been following you for quite some time now, and you've done so well being on the international platform. You know, you've been to BBC. You've been all the political figures in our country, Ghana. You know, you are connected to them. They listen to you somehow.
Well, we are humbled by that as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us, before we get into Imani, tell us what brought you to Chicago.
Well, sadly, I'm here for just a few days, but the main reason is because I'm here to meet with one of our donors to have a discussion as to how best we can, integrate some of the ideas of development into the larger scheme of things. The donor is interested in education. She invests in Ghana. She invests in what I call, it's a microfinance institution, but the idea behind the investment is to encourage education entrepreneurs to beef up their work, more or less, to make loans that have human face, so that the interest rates are not as high as you find in the other financial institutions in Ghana. So she has a deep interest in Ghana. And because we as a think tank are focused on education, there's a nexus in terms of thinking as to how best we can all advocate policies that could expand the frontiers of education and essentially ensure that there are other pathways to, as it were, giving education to the less privileged in the country. So that's basically what it is.
Okay.
And because we believe in alternate solutions or alternate pathways to delivering good education, we thought that there should be some synergistic relationship that could ensure that policies that are brought to bear on the education, the larger goal of education, is achieved.
Wow. I will get to that in a moment because I want to connect that to the free SHS. That has been big controversial in the administration of Nana Akufo-Addo. It's still going on. So much controversial issues surrounding it, but we'll get to that. So, for those that don't know what Imani is, I just gave a little description of it, and being the founder and the CEO of Imani, I think it's best when it comes from you tell us what Imani is really about. Maybe if I left something out, what for the past maybe over a decade now you've been in existence. Right.
Well, so Imani is a Swahili word for faith. It could also mean hope. Don't forget, over 70% of Swahili emanates from Arabic. So the word Imani emanates from the Arabic word Imam, a faith leader. Well, I'm no faith leader, but I thought that in forming an organization that was African, we needed an African name. And so the moniker really is Imani. And I didn't really like abbreviations. Otherwise, the original abbreviation of the organization was going to be CHE. That was Center for Humane Education. And the CHE would have meant Shea. And if you know what the character Che Guevara was, my ideology in a way is not in sync with his. I'm no communist, I'm no socialist. And so I felt that we needed an African name. But more so, it resonated with the thinking at the time, which was whether I had faith that the continent could be changed through ideas. And I don't think that after 14 years, the answer is wrong. I think that we've had a lot of effect. We started out just educating people about free enterprise economics, basically. But then we realized that hand in hand with education, it was important to explain economic policy making or the fruits of economic policy making in such a way that a lay journalist could take without any interpretation and use. So effectively, we were supposed to become some second-hand dealers in ideas of sorts, or the intermediary between the academic and the lay person. Because academics usually find it difficult to explain whatever they are engaged in. But we found a way, like an entrepreneurial way of explaining what academics normally would have done to the lay person, but with a certain niche. And that clearly is where we apply certain tools. In our case, which is what you read, market-oriented tools, basically cost-benefit analysis, value for money analysis, in order to understand why a particular policy like free SHS may be useful for us in our environment, or probably not, or how it could be tweaked in order to achieve its intended objective of making sure everyone gets an education if he or she has reached the rightful age. So in terms of free SHS, our original proposition clearly was that, if you had money, especially if the money doesn't belong to you as a government official, you don't spend it the way you'd have wished if it were your own money. So if you wanted to be sure that you were getting the exact benefit from such a wonderful policy, you do targeting, means testing, to ensure that those who truly need the support are given. But as you know, our politicians don't have they believe they don't have the benefit of time, and so they provide solutions that are wholesale and sometimes not particularly well thought through. I think it's just difficult for them to sit down and do the means testing, where you find out those who need it. I know in Chicago and the whole of America, there are welfare schemes, and I don't think everybody is on welfare, right?
That's right.
Of course, it's targeted. So those kinds of things you find us doing. But over time, We also felt that politicians were too much in a hurry to do some of the big things and not necessarily giving credence to the discipline of determining whether it gave us real value. So one of the major reasons why Imani became a household name in Ghana was because we took on subjects other think tanks or other civil societies, organizations were not probably interested in doing, because they didn't want to be put in harm's way. I'm putting it mildly, because they thought that those subjects were too political. But for us at Imani, we thought that was exactly where our forte really was, to take on big ticket subjects that had the capacity of transforming the country. So a $3 billion Chinese loan that we knew was not going to come in its entirety, because the Ghanaian government at the time hadn't done its crucial work of making sure that the set of goods or the basket of goods that were to bring in the $3 billion on the Chinese were either viable or profitable. And those kinds of analysis you can only make when you have a world view of how things work. And this is what we did. So we applied, tested solutions elsewhere, value for money analysis, and asked whether the projects for which the Ghanaian government at the time, I think the NDC government, had packaged to unlock a $3 billion loan from the Chinese did make sense. And we found out that there were a number of the goods that the Chinese were never going to fund. And we told the government that, look, if the Chinese, if you don't show you have $1 million, you won't get $1 billion. Meaning, of course, if you were going to design a project and it had no value, the Chinese were not going to put money. And we brought global experience to bear, where Chinese have dealt with other African countries for 5 years. They were waiting for a loan and it never came. So those kinds of analysis we did, and we told them that only $1 billion would come, because the only important factor in the whole enchilada was that it was only the gas project, which was the Atuabo gas project, that was going to bring the money. And eventually we were vindicated. You take other subjects like the XTS, still under the NDC. I mean, how on earth were you thinking that the South Koreans, who were now trying to compete with the Chinese, were going to give you $10 billion, a little African country, no matter whether you are the first to attain independence or not, to give you $10 billion when China at the time would have spread the $10 billion among many African countries? I mean, so you took that global position first to get an insight into how our leaders were thinking. Eventually, they reduced the figure from 10 billion to 1.5 billion. And we said, well, still, those money were not going to come because you haven't packaged the whole housing project well. And it didn't happen. Well, were we spoilers? Maybe we were spoilers for shining the eyes, to use the Ghanaian, more or less, African terminology, that we now brought to bear exactly what the politician was made up of, phantom. And they didn't like it that much. But some could have said we were spoilers, we were nation wreckers, but we saved the Ghanaian substantial amounts of money so that the politician would stop at the point in chasing wins. So fast forward, I mean, there are other things that we decided to do which, again, made us a bit prominent. For instance, the 2016 elections. Since 2008, we've been asking our politicians that, look, do you have business plans backing your promises? And that's a
very big
question, because you see, of course, running a country is different from running a corporate organization. But there are bigger corporate organizations in this world that are much more valuable than Ghana in terms of the value, worth. I mean, there are multi-billion-dollar companies whose annual revenues are hovering 300 billions of whatever dollars. So clearly, if you have an economy of the size that we have, and you know that there's a set amount of money you can always garner in a year, probably $45 billion in a year, that's the GDP of the country.
That's right.
You probably don't want to be promising things outside of that GDP range. So I heard our own Dr. Papakwesindum is based out here at some point in time. When he was running his campaign, for instance, he had promised to construct roads whose total length of roads he had promised to construct were about 1,341 kilometers. I bet he didn't even calculate that, but we did for him. And we found out that 600 kilometers of those routes already existed. So we asked questions. Are you going to construct parallel routes? But critically, the question we asked of him at the time, his party, was that, look, you know, the value of the roads you want to construct were going to be of 110 billion Ghana cedis. Given the economy that we had at the time, where was the money going to come from? Now, those kinds of questions, we sort of jolted the political establishment to understand that in prosecuting an agenda for development, you need to be sure that the basket of goods you have would match, if you like, the investments that you are likely to make in the economy. How much money do you have? Where's the money going to come from? Same thing we asked of the CPP. You want to build an almond economy, and they said they will generate $300 billion for Ghana. And we asked them, well, how many almond trees are you going to grow? They said, I think they said 2 million almond trees, and they were going to get a lot of employment to Ghanaians. So we are no quarrel with that. But have you calculated the global almond economy? At the time they were making the promise, the United States was the largest producer of almonds and had generated $5.8 billion the year before. So we asked, if we did all the calculations, and indeed, if we decided that the pre-planting, the planting period, and the post-planting period of almond, and you did all those analyses, because we could do that because we had global averages to compare, we found out that it was going to take almost 50 years for CPP to be able to generate that amount of money. And that's being conservative. And that would mean also that if we allow all the agricultural lands of the country to be used in growing only almond trees, then the $300 billion figure would come in 50 years. Well, without that, it was quite unlikely. So those kinds of analysis opened the eyes of many Ghanaians, and instantly, during the elections, we had even the MPP having to come back to now start giving figures to some of their promises, which again was one of the things we did, was quite useful.
Clearly, my listeners, you can understand and know that Imani really keeps our political parties and our political figures on their toes, because now there's an institution that is that are watching them and bringing analysis that will bring their policies and their promises into reality for the layman, or for the for the citizens of let's speak of Ghana, because that's you working for Ghana or towards Ghana, for the citizens to know exactly what they can get from these political parties and these politicians when they come to power. Now, I want to kind of put these two questions to you, and then we'll because I really wanted a needed time for this conversation. However, you're only here for just a few days. You're just passing through, so we'll get all your information and all your contacts, and then we will definitely be keeping in touch with you.
Sure.
And bringing you online, calling you from Ghana, wherever you are, when all these political issues and these stories come across us, because we do have one of the biggest political stage here on this radio station. That I think you will be very essential to us. So, now, from the administration, from the past administration, that is President Mahama. Well, this administration has only been in power for about 10 months now. So it's no fair to them. But I still want to ask this question. You did mention of when these politicians and these political parties rush to do things, and it does not give the citizens or the nation, does not give them any value, of those promises, of those policies that they want to implement. From your analysis, the past administration to this current administration, can you weigh them for our listeners as to what party did the most to give Ghana value?
Well, that's a tough one. If you are asking me to compare the first
years. The first years. Let's say the first year, because then it will not be fair to the MPPs because they just came in. Exactly. So let's say the first year.
Exactly.
But it will not be fair to the NDCs because the first year, the first 10 months, they were in court.
Well, yes, truth be told, like they say, Grobessa
Efrano
Don't they say that? Truth be
That
told,
is one of
look,
the NDC's
none of-
quote.
Exactly. None of us. Look, before the 2012 elections, we knew that clearly the challenges we were going to face were all based on the policy incoherence that had dogged Ghana. I mean, there was a lot of policy logicality for sure. So from 2012, you would have somehow would have thought that the beginning of 2013, which was clearly the NDC was in court, you'd have thought that there were clear intentions. Clearly, I mean, the new government that had taken over from itself, by the way, because our late president, our president had just passed. Their intentions were right. I mean, I felt quite motivated when I saw the kitchen cabinet of the then President Mahama, because these were technocrats, and I said, wow, okay, I'm sure we'll get somewhere. But of course, as it turned out, they had their own challenges. Most of it they are doing entirely, and then they had some of the objectives they set for themselves. They couldn't meet them in terms of the economy, a single-digit inflation, which I think they must have achieved just once. Then an 8% GDP growth rate, which did not happen. They also said they were going to build reserves to cover at least, was it 3 or 4 months of import cover. I think they did that just about once. And there are quite a number of promises that were also not necessarily brought forth, because, as I said, they had their own challenges. And of course, the perception of corruption engulfed them. That is towards the end of their reign. So, by comparison to the MPP's first 10 months, the MPP could say that they've put in place a number of things that could generate the needed fruits along the way. And I feel quite confident as well, just as I felt confident at the time that the NDC had started out under Mahama, that if these policies are gathered properly, if these policies are gathered properly, I'm sure they will generate fruits. I mean, we've taken it upon ourselves at Imani not to give a mark to the first year of this the presidency on Nana-Addo, just as we didn't really do that for Mahama, because in 1 year, you really wouldn't have been able to achieve enough. It is getting to the second year, the midway, that we have to do that. Something we did for the NDC, by the way, under the NDC, where we ranked their achievements, and I think by this midway, they had achieved 47% of their manifesto promises. So we'll do that next year, but at the end of this year, I think in January next year, when the MPP would have clocked a year, we would list all the things that they said they have done, and then decide to provide solutions, prefer our ideas as to how best to sustain some of the gains, and the ones that are problematic, how they can deal with them and overcome them. So it's not a particularly interesting comparison yet.
I have here with me CEO and founder of Imani, Franklin Cudjoe. And as I stated earlier, WGHC, that's what we stand for. It is your voice, your music, your station. When some of our influential figures like Franklin Cudjoe comes in our mix and he's passing through here, and courtesy of Nicholas, he's also a journalist. I don't even know why he's not here yet, but he's a journalist, and just by way of making sure that we hear of the good things that this intelligent man is doing for Ghana and the rest of Africa. We are taking a bit of Cosby Michael's time in his presence, and we're having this constructive dialogue, and also for him to impart on us some of the things that Imani is doing to really solve some of the domestic, social, can I say political problems?
Oh, yes.
That is
most
going
of our
on.
problems are political.
Yeah, that is going on in Ghana. So this free SHS, free high school education, that Nana Akufo-Addo's administration has executed and is going on, but there's so much controversy surrounding it. people are saying that, it can't work. It's not going to work. Where are they going to get the money to sustain that? So much is happening, and it's fake. It's fraud. It's a scheme that they are using to make money. It's so many things are happening. From your analysis and from your perspective, do you see this policy to be a good policy and valuable for Ghana, and for the matter that it can stay for the rest of, till that kingdom come?
Well, first of all, we have never described any politician's dream as never achievable. Unless, of course, if you break the bank, you can do anything you want. But we've always urged caution, always going forward, that, well, look, if you had your own money, you probably could do several things, but you probably wouldn't be a spendthrift if you had your own money to do things that you probably wouldn't have the necessary, should I say, value out of. So we've always urged a caution that, look, what belongs to you, you tend to take care of, but what belongs to others tends to fall into disrepair, because you probably don't want to take care of it properly. So we guided with that principle at Imani. We've always viewed any politician's dream or promise in that particular light. And we ask ourselves, to what end, really? There's no gainsaying the fact that it is a very important and noble idea to provide education for everyone. And this, by the way, personally and physically, we've told Nanado way back in 2012 when we met him and said, look, we think the free SH policy is a wonderful idea, but we think the way you want to have it implemented could run into problems, even if you had limitless funds to do that, because there may be needs elsewhere that would have to be catered for. So what about doing means testing, piloting? What about finding out a mechanism to use in finding out those who truly are in need? Because truth be told, there are public schools that are well endowed, that when our friends who go to visit the awards in this well-endowed public schools like Wegehe, Wesley Girls, Achimota School, and the provisions they buy, the food items they buy, the visitation money they give, is more than the school fees. So clearly, some of them do not need to be given as free SHS. The argument is that, the counter-argument therefore is that everybody pays a tax. Yeah, but if everybody pays a tax, you probably have a gazillion number of problems. Once you do some of these things, other segments of society that probably are not well endowed start looking up and asking for more. You remember the nursing training allowance?
Yeah.
Once they gave it, agriculture college students also rose up and said, we also need the allowance, free allowance. Now, you cannot run a country based on freebies all the time. If there are real challenges, we need to fix them. And if you want to start up a scholarship system, which is what the state should have done, by the way, to identify those who truly are in need, you'd save a lot of money to invest in other areas of the economy.
But the Ghanaians are happy. Ghanaians are happy with this free SHS.
No, it's not a question about not being happy. Of course. I mean, it's just like paying a tax. Nobody wants to pay a tax. So if you came around and said, well, listen, I'm not going to ask you to pay a tax, but people will be happy. But the real challenge is that you had the aftermath of the policy,
right,
which is the infrastructure gap, which ought to be fixed, which is a clear issue we need to talk about. And this is not politicking. Well, I don't do politics of these matters. We only look at the issues, and so we've not described it as a fraud, as some politicians have, but we are looking at it holistically and the qualitative outcomes of the system. As a matter of fact, we are even being kind to the MPP. Our first analysis of the outcomes of the free SHS is not even going to be based on quality outcomes as in the education, because that will take probably 2-3 years to determine. We are just going to look at just on the surface of what they have promised to do and ask ourselves, are people being placed well? Do we have the infrastructure? What has been the mechanism through which people have been sent to those schools? And just on the surface of it, do an analysis. Not because we want to find fault, but it's important that as a very important investment like education, you must make that investment with the mind that you are reaping important results. Look, I would have thought, and this is our thinking even at Imani, that agreeing that everything else should be done for free education, it would have been best use of our money if we gave free education, really free, to those going into technical and vocational education. Because that's exactly where the problems of this country lie. Look, the people who go to technical and vocational school in Ghana, they are the lowest of the poverty level. Yes, they are the lowest level of the poverty ladder.
This is
WGHC
98.3 FM.
So you have donors now filling that gap. They give money for skills building projects, but these are menial skills-based projects. And in far-seeing countries, it is the middle-level manpower that is built off technical and vocational education that builds a country. And that's what Ghana needs right now. Most of our education is grammar-based education. Look at the universities. Over 100 and something private universities, did I say 100? Quite a number of them are delivering education like fast foods and not real, real nutritional ingredients in them. And all we are doing is either marketing, without any disrespect to the causes of marketing and whatever. But that's not what will build a nation. What builds a nation is real skills. And to think that you have polytechnics that are also clamoring to become universities simply because their lecturers will be called lecturers or professors and the students will be called graduates. You get a mindset that the whole education system is in a total shambles because we are not thinking properly as to how to get ourselves out of this mode. So while I admit that free SHS is a wonderful idea, if I had my money, I wouldn't use it that way. I'd rather do the means testing to find out those who need it. Or if we dumped all other consequences and said, look, let's just focus on technical and vocational education. That's being charitable to the idea that everybody should enjoy. So that's the issue really about that.
As I stated earlier, this is a conversation that I really wanted to have enough time to have with Franklin Cudjoe because with his institution, that is the Imani, and it's a Center for Policy and Education. And the reason why he's here is to have some connection with a donor that's far more interested in education in Ghana. I believe that's what you said.
Well, that's one. But the other reason is that I'm flying off to New York tomorrow as well to be part of an award ceremony because we've been shortlisted for an award based on the work we did on the manifestos in 2016.
Oh, okay.
And this is going to be a big program in New York, and there will be over 400 guests, international guests.
Yeah.
And we hope that we win the ultimate.
Right.
6 of us have been shortlisted globally, and we are the only African think tank and shortlisted.
As a think tank that is representing Africa, and it's from Ghana. Oh my. Congratulations, by the way.
We are grateful.
Thank you very much for the great works that you're doing. So finally, we have to go so that the program that kind of spares some of their time. This is an exclusive interview, and we are going to have some time and contact you and have a thorough and constructive conversation on the free SHS because we have to really allow Ghanaians to understand where this is going and why it's here and what it can do. Like you said, it can either make or break the nation. So Ghanaians are happy that it's here, but we want to get in depth into the policy and what Nana actually means with this free education for Ghana. So with your institution, that of Imani, being a Center for Policy and Education, how do you connect, now that there is a donor that is interested in education, how do you connect your institution, your ideas, and to connect it and to help that this administration, Nana Akufo-Addo, be able to implement the free secondary high school the right way, or better yet, implement education the right way, since you stand for education so much?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, our position has always been what I just told you about, taking your time to make sure that you fix all the challenges of education in the right way. I am very positive that by the time the free SH policy would have given birth to the first graduates, would have come to the realization that, well, we probably need to step back a bit and decide that, look, we need to go it slowly.
This is WGHC 98.3 FM.
Not attempt a wholesale solution. So I'm not saying that there are going to be challenges, but the challenges themselves will bring to bear the very views we've held so far. So for us, our support would always be that, look, maybe there's another way to achieve this goal, and probably take a look at it. And the reason why we say this is because even the MPP itself has realized that, and they've made comments to that effect, that every new thing would have challenges. But these challenges, by the way, were envisioned by the groups like us way before when it was introduced. So I think that our own solutions or our suggestions would be that, well, how do we do it? And that's exactly what I'm saying, that we normally prefer these things. We don't necessarily want to be prophetic, because it's not the best. We are just saying that, look, the solutions are out there. Try to achieve this goal in a way that would make economic sense to the country. But if it is in terms of helping, we are always ready to help. I mean, the Ministry of Education, Napo is a good friend of ours, and they call on us anytime. We'd always make us our.
And that is what that's what I want to hear, and I love to hear that. So, we will love to have more time with Sir Franklin Cudjoe, but as I stated, we borrow some time from the actual program that's going on here with the management permission here at WGHC. And this is a very influential figure for that matter, and they are really putting some glory to Ghana, or to Africa for that matter, for the great works that they are doing as a think tank for Africa. And they are really moving. As he stated earlier, 2016's election, I mean, I think you guys had some great, you had great impact on the whole election, and we were following. And since 2004, and I believe somewhere 2006, 10, you guys were doing a lot of great things. And that is how I think you got recognized by BBC. And you've been on the international platform. And we are very happy to have you here. Before I let you go and we bring back on, Cosby to continue with his show, a lot of people on Facebook are thinking and they admire the recs that you do. I'm sorry I can't read all of your comments, but I do see Mr. Johnny Woods, Joe Owusu, I see you. And if I can scroll down, I'll see more names. But we will bring back Sir Cudjoe on our platform via phone, and then we'll have a very in-depth conversation about Ghana politics. You know how my heart is for Ghana. I think and bleed and sleep Ghana each and every day. So I want the progression of our nation to be as it's supposed to be. And before I have him giving the last words, let me have Nick comes on, and then courtesy of Nick, why we're able to connect to Sir Cudjoe. Nick, is there anything else you can say to add to what Sir Cudjoe have said concerning the education and the things that they are doing for Ghana politically and socially?
Well, I find them very important. I find them very important because, just even listening to your radio channel, I realized that that's what you guys have been rambling about all throughout the year. Hey, these are politics. This is politics. Here are the figures in politics. They are making these promises to us. How is it going to be achieved? You talk about leadership. You talk about leadership accountability and all sorts
That's
of
right.
things.
And that can be done with a system.
Yes. So and all we do is the talking aspect of it.
That's right.
But here we have an institution that is actually bringing the dreams into reality and holding these politicians accountable and setting, auditing them to a point where if they are just talking, hey, you embarrass yourself in front of the whole nation. So they are allowing their transparency to create a sense of responsibility.
That's
Before
right.
you come and say anything, know that you have your facts, and then don't deceive the people and break their hearts. So they are saving us a lot of heartbroken.
Yeah, that is what I said. They are keeping these political these two heavyweight political parties in our nation, that is NDC and NPP,
Yeah.
Imani's really keeping them on their toes. Really keeping them on their tiptoes, because the Imani institution and the analysis that they bring forth really keep the check and balances of the promises and the things that these politicians come on and
Because
say.
journalists don't really have the time to take an Excel spreadsheet and
Yeah.
compare data and stuff.
Really,
like
they
that.
just like to come and just give out their
and
information.
they're actually servicing the media's houses too very well, giving them facts so that they just present the analysis.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Thank you for this connection, and I know that, sir. How do you like the first ever
Wow.
Tetestro traditional dial?
Well, I mean, I think it's wonderful.
You've been to Chicago before?
Actually, this is the first time in
Oh,
Chicago.
okay,
So
okay.
this is very interesting for me.
Yeah.
I truly love the setup here, rather, and
thank you.
I'm grateful for
Yeah.
having me. I'm grateful to Nick and the wife for
Yeah.
hosting me as well.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the short notice. And of course, I'm grateful for having me on this program.
Yes, we are all about our people. We are all about promoting the education, innovation that excites and bring progression, and make things move forward. So on the 19th, I'm so sorry you won't be here. On the 19th of this month, November, we're having our second annual fundraising and black tie gala that will have Jesse White, Secretary of State. We'll have Dorothy Brown, Cook County Clerk. We have a lot of honorable, influential dignitaries that will be at our events. And they are coming because of we Africans here in Chicago now have a voice. Now we have something that we can connect to them with our concerns, with things that are happening in our constituencies, in our community. Right. And now, because of this radio station, the governor signed, and the legislature signed, they passed a law. And because of this radio station, now the Africans can have their children go to school, a private school, for free. First conference, they signed it. Yeah, 75 million. And a Ghanaian happens to be in that program, and it's an administration assistant and relayed information to us for us to pass it out. So there is power in the voice, and there is power in exactly what you guys are doing.
Congratulations to you. And I think this is exactly the sort of innovations that we need. I mean, to think that through your work, wonderful work, and just being in the 2 years.
No, a year.
A year.
Now we're going on.
Well, I mean, this is real impact. And to think that a very vital and important policy like choice, basically, this is free choice based upon, where your kids could go to school, depending on where they want to go to school, is useful. And those are some of the things that we need to be preaching back home. It could be done. Yeah. We could have, if we decide that you really want everybody to benefit, well, give coupons and let children choose where they want to go to school.
That's right. So on the 19th, and we have it at a Stan Mansion, Logan Square, 2408 North Kersey Boulevard. Tickets are available right now. Please come and get your tickets. There'll be a hosted bar, elegant dinner, of course, live music. There will be awards given out, and goodies will be also given out as well. Right now, you can come to the studios and pick up your tickets as we speak. You can go on eventbrite.com using the keyword WGHC 98.3 FM and purchase your ticket there. There are tickets for couples, tickets for a group of table, and then also a general ticket as well. So this will help us really. We want to, stretch our bandwidth and go further. So this is what the fundraising is all about. Every year it comes on. This is our second annual. Follow us on Facebook with any questions that you have, WJC 98.3 FM. Yes, we have a website too, WJCFM.org. And before you go, please, you put out all your website, social handles, how people can follow you, how people can ask their questions to you. We definitely follow you. So if somebody want to reach out to you, how can they get hold of you?
Well, so our website itself is Imani Ghana, IMANI Ghana, one word, .org. ImaniAfrica.org is the same thing, but ImaniGhana.org brings you to our homepage. Our phone lines, my personal phone line, I could always put it out. It's +233 244 638 178. And I'm on Facebook. Imani is also on Facebook. If you type in Imani Ghana, you'd find us on Facebook. We're also on Twitter at Imani GHA. And I'm on Twitter as well, even though I connected to Facebook at Lord Cudjoe, Lord and Cudjoe, my surname. And that's it, really.
All right. Mr. Johnny Wu said, Ghana needs more people like you.
Humbled. Very humbled. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kelvin?
No, I'm Kofi Boateng.
Kofi Boateng,
yeah,
sorry.
Okay. A lot of people call me Humble Lion.
So, Humble Lion. Yeah, it's a wonderful show. And thanks to
Cosby Michaels.
Cosby for...
Yeah, we took some of his time.
Taking your time.
Yeah,
Grateful.
So Ghana will be grateful to Cosby, right? Yeah, so... Cudjoe, thank you very much. When we come to Ghana, we'll look for you. We will definitely meet again, and we will be calling you through Nick, and then we'll be hopefully. I wish you were here on the 19th because you will be really key keynote speaker somehow But some way, somehow next year
you never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
We'll see it again.
Right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Cheers.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This was a very exclusive and impromptu interview, but however, it's been done because that's what we do here at WGHC 98.3 FM. When influential figures such as Sir Cudjoe comes in our mix, we definitely want to bring him on so that he can relay any information out there. Right now, he's here really connecting and trying to build our education back home. That's what I asked the question, how is with his institution, they can connect and help the government with the free SHS. All the flaws that he sees and finds with this institution or with this policy by Nana Akufo-Addo, how can he help? How can his institution help and make it stand? And he said that he's available. Dr. Napo, Minister of Education, is a very dear friend of him, and anytime they need help, they will definitely come out around. And for now, they're just giving analysis and critics on the surface of the policies Nana Akufo-Addo has put forth. With that said, we all need to help. We in the diaspora, we need to help Imani. We need to help the great cause that they're putting, fostering in place to really help Ghana move forward domestically with our social problems and political problems, and really kind of bring into reality, the things, the policies, and the education that can make our nation stand strong. So as an African think tank, Imani has been here, WGHC 98.3 FM. Thank you. And we will see you again. Back to the regular program in his presence with Cosby Michaels.
WGHC 98.3 FM.
While you're but we are nothing friend from the first time.